Hey everyone, welcome back to Tried, Tested, and True Instant Pot Cooking, where I share with you Instant Pot inspirations and ways to feel confident using your Instant Pot. I'm Lisa Childs, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 25 of my favorite things to make in my Instant Pot. These are 25 of my most popular, tried and true favorite recipes that I make over and over again. They're super easy, simple, and here is a step-by-step demonstration on how to make every single one of them. First, we're going to start off with Instant Pot chicken drumsticks that are super cheap, super easy, and really fast. You can make these with a fresh or semi-frozen or frozen chicken drumstick. That's the best part about it. They can go fresh or frozen. You want to first stack them in the Instant Pot. Take your trivet and put it in the Instant Pot, or if you have any sort of other rack, and add 1 cup of water. Next, stack your drumsticks in the Instant Pot for maximum airflow. If you buy them when they're on sale, you can get a big pack of those chicken drumsticks for like $3 or $4. And if you get like 2 of them, you could feed up to 6 people. It's pretty amazing. So that's why I love making these chicken drumsticks. Close the lid, turn the knob to sealing, and then we're going to cook from 10 to 12 minutes. 10 minutes for fresh drumsticks, 11 minutes for semi-frozen, and 12 minutes for frozen drumsticks. Watch this video and just see how big my drumsticks are. These were the 10 to 12 minute range. If you have ginormous drumsticks, just tack on a couple more minutes. While the chicken is cooking in the Instant Pot, go ahead and turn your broiler on so it gets nice and hot and preheated. You can also do this in the air fryer or your grill. When the 10 to 12 minutes is up, just simply do a quick release on the Instant Pot, let all the pressure out, and then open the lid, and then your chicken is ready to go. I like to put the cooked chicken on a broiler plate and then broil them. This is kind of an extra step, but I just like it for extra flavor, but you can totally eat them as is. So arrange your chicken drumsticks on the broiler pan or a cookie sheet lined with foil, and then you're going to baste each chicken drumstick with your favorite sauce. We love to do ours with buffalo sauce, barbecue sauce. You can do them plain with olive oil, salt, and pepper. You can do like a Korean gochujang sauce. You could do anything that you like. That's why it's so awesome. You can do a bunch of chicken drumsticks and then baste them all in different sauces. And then it's kind of like a drumstick buffet. You can have whatever you want. After you've basted your chicken drumsticks, just pop them in the oven in the broiler or on the grill, and then broil for about 3 to 5 minutes or until they're nice and caramelized. I like to flip them over, baste again, and do the same thing and then broil them again on the other side. After they come out of the oven, I like to do just 1 extra basting of sauce because I am a total sauce girl. I love dipping, I love extra sauce in anything. So I like to do a little bit of extra sauce at the end, and then you just enjoy. Now, if you're not familiar with Kalua Pig, it's basically just a Hawaiian style pork. It's salty, it's smoky, it's so tender, and it is so good. So I'm going to show you now how to make Kalua Pig. First, take your Boston butt pork roast or a picnic shoulder and cut it up into large uniform chunks. Add all of the pork pieces to the Instant Pot with the bone. Add 1/4 cup of Hawaiian sea salt, 2 tablespoons of liquid smoke, and 1/2 cup of water. You can find Hawaiian sea salt online or at specialty grocery stores. Toss that all up with some tongs and then cover and refrigerate overnight or at least 8 hours. This step helps develop more flavor, but if you don't have time for it, don't worry, just skip it. The next day, place the Instant Pot liner into the base of the Instant Pot and add 1 cup of additional water to the meat. Lock the lid, turn the knob to sealing, then cook on manual high pressure for 120 minutes with a full natural pressure release. This will take about 30 minutes. Because the Instant Pot liner was cold, it will also take a while for it to come to pressure, so allow at least 30 minutes on the pressure building side and the pressure release side. Now open the lid and remove the pork to a large serving dish, and you can pour some of the delicious cooking liquid on top to keep it moist. You can also add some more salt to taste, and we like to serve it over rice with shredded cabbage and teriyaki sauce. So we are going to do 1 cup of rice. I'm using a 1/4 cup so it fits in this little pantry container I have. And then I'm going to add 1 1/4 cup of water, just right on top. And then I usually just give it a little bit of a shake, just to make sure that it's kind of distributed evenly. And then that's it. Some people like putting salt or oil in their rice. Using oil will make the grains not absorb quite as much water, so there will be a little bit more of a bite to them. So I just prefer to do water and rice. Now that we've got our rice and our water in our Instant Pot, we're going to put the lid on. Make sure that your knob on your Instant Pot is turned to sealing every single time you pressure cook. It will never come to pressure and you will be super sad. So we've got it on sealing, and then we are going to cook for 3 minutes on high pressure with a 10-minute natural pressure release. If you decide to press the rice button on your Instant Pot, it's just a preset, it will set it to 12 minutes on low pressure. So I'm going to do 3 minutes on high pressure by pressing the manual or pressure cook button and then adjusting to 3 minutes. Once the Instant Pot beeps, that means it has recognized whatever number that you have put in there and it's starting to cook. Once the Instant Pot has pressurized and the pin has come all the way up, that means that it will start its pressure cooking and it will start counting down. Once the Instant Pot has finished pressure cooking for those 2 minutes, an L will appear on the screen, meaning lapsed time, and then you'll want to wait until it says L10, or it has lapsed or naturally released pressure for 10 minutes. After that, we can just open up the Instant Pot lid and your rice will be done. So if the pin is still up, then just release the rest of the pressure by turning your knob from sealing to venting. After the pin drops, we can take off our lid. So we'll just take this off. And the Instant Pot will automatically go on keep warm mode. But with rice, I don't recommend keeping it on the keep warm mode for a long extended period of time. Otherwise, the rice will dry out. Now we've got our rice, it looks perfectly done. When you're ready to serve your rice, you usually will use a rice paddle or like a wooden spoon or something like that. But here's a tip, if you wet your spoon or whatever utensil you're going to use to scoop your rice, it will prevent the rice from sticking. So we've got our rice paddle and we're just going to fluff up the rice. It looks great. All right, let's scoop up some of this perfect Instant Pot rice. Got this in here and it's not sticking to the bottom. It's perfectly cooked, but if you taste this version and you want it to be a little bit softer, if you don't want quite as much of a bite, all you have to do is just add a little bit more water, maybe a 1/4 cup, and add a little bit more time. This is how much that 1 cup yielded, and it's perfect for just a little family or for about 1 to 2 servings. The next vegetable I always cook in my Instant Pot are sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are so good for you. They're very complex carb. They're very rich in nutrients. They're very bright and orange and happy, and they really are so good for you. So we love making them in our Instant Pot. First, when you buy your sweet potatoes, make sure that they are the orange variety. You don't want the tan yams. You want to get the orange sweet potato. Try and buy sweet potatoes that are as uniform in size as possible. You don't want to get some tiny ones and then like a 3-pound huge one. You want to find them as close in size and shape as possible so then they cook evenly. After you wash your sweet potatoes, let's just go ahead and pressure cook them. You don't need to poke any holes or do anything like that. We will just cook these whole, but of course if you want them to cook faster, you can cut them into cubes or you can cut the sweet potato into quarters, whatever you want. But a whole potato is just really convenient. You just throw it in the Instant Pot and it'll be done in a snap. Again, we're going to start with 1 cup of water in the Instant Pot, and then I like to put my sweet potatoes either on the trivet or in a steamer basket. Sometimes when they are done cooking, the skins will just slip right off, and so it's nice to be able to have the basket so I can just pull it straight out of the Instant Pot without having to worry about like the sweet potato like falling apart when I grab it with tongs or anything like that, because they're super hot. So I prefer to use the steamer basket when I make these sweet potatoes. For small whole sweet potatoes, I like to cook them between 15 and 20 minutes. For medium to large sweet potatoes, we do 20 to 25, and for large sweet potatoes, it's between 25 and 30 minutes. If your sweet potatoes are ginormous, I would recommend either cutting them in half or just tacking on an extra 5 to 8 minutes. After they're done pressure cooking, just do a quick release and then you're ready to eat your sweet potatoes. So take off that lid and then transfer them to a plate or a Tupperware or whatever you're eating on, and then they're ready to enjoy. I don't eat the skin on my sweet potatoes, but I love to eat them actually for breakfast. I like to do like some sweet potato, scrambled egg, some broccoli, some sausage, and then I like to actually put a little bit of cottage cheese on my sweet potato, and then I just eat it like that. Just really weird, simple, but healthy breakfast. First, take 1 ounce of dried wood ear mushroom and reconstitute it in 2 cups of warm water. We just want it to kind of rehydrate and get nice and big and squishy all over again. And usually I would do this I would just throw the dried stuff into the Instant Pot, but this one needs to reconstitute a little bit more and we have to kind of rinse it off. So that's why we're going to do it separate. We don't want any dirt or grit in our soup. After they've soaked for about 30 minutes, we're just going to rinse them off and then cut out any really dry or hard parts. And then I like to lay them on top of each other, roll them up, and then slice them into thin strips. Next, we're going to marinate the chicken. So first, take 1 large chicken breast and mince it into really fine pieces. We want them really small, not like paste obviously, but just little tiny bits that are going to float in through the soup. To this, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 1 tablespoon of kneading, or you can just use like a little bit of sugar water if you want, or omit if you don't have it, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, and 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper. Now just mix that up until it's nice and covered, and then set aside while we prepare our vegetables. Wash and slice all your other vegetables, and then we are going to just dump everything in the Instant Pot. It's so nice, it's like seriously the easiest soup ever. First, we're going to add in our sliced and cleaned wood ear mushrooms. If you can't find these, just find them on Amazon, or you can find them in an Asian grocery store. Also, if you can still hear a lisp, it's because I had mouth surgery, and yes, I just sound like this, so sorry about that. After the wood ear mushrooms, do 1 cup of sliced shiitake mushrooms, 1 cup of sliced carrots, 1 stalk of finely diced green onions, 1 cup of finely sliced bamboo shoots, and I like to get the baby ones, the baby young bamboo shoots, they're just way more tender. And lastly, 7 ounces or 1 package of sliced enoki mushrooms. Next, add on the marinated chicken that we had from before, 1.5 tablespoons of minced garlic, 2 teaspoons of freshly grated ginger, and 6 cups of chicken broth. Here's a pro tip. Just take your whole knob of fresh ginger and scrape the skin off with a spoon. You can also use like a vegetable peeler, but I like using the spoon method, and then just grate it up with a little microplane or grater. I always have fresh ginger on hand, but I don't always keep it in the fridge. I just keep it wrapped up in a little baggie in the freezer, and then I just peel it and grate it frozen. Now give that a stir, and then we're gonna put the lid on the Instant Pot, turn the knob to sealing, and cook on manual high pressure for 5 minutes. Hot and sour soup has 2 parts, right? The hot and the sour. So the hot actually isn't like a spicy heat, it actually comes from white pepper. So you need to have white pepper for this recipe. And then the sour comes from the vinegar in the soup. So hot and sour, you have to have white pepper and vinegar in order to do this. So while the soup is cooking, we are going to mix together in a separate bowl 1/2 cup of soy sauce, 1/4 cup of cornstarch, 1/2 cup of white vinegar, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of white pepper. Just whisk that up until the cornstarch is completely dissolved. Now that the soup is done, let's do a quick release and then open the lid. And we want to bring this up to a boil. So turn the Instant Pot to high saute and bring the soup back up to a boil. Since it's already so hot, this shouldn't take very long. We want to make sure it's completely boiling. So then when we pour in that cornstarch slurry, the soup will thicken really nicely. So while stirring the soup, just pour in that cornstarch slurry right into the soup until it's completely incorporated. Then turn off the Instant Pot. Using the same cup that you had the cornstarch slurry in, crack 2 eggs and beat them up really well. Without stirring the soup, just drizzle in those eggs ever so gently in long, nice threads. Don't stir, otherwise it will just get cloudy. We want those long, beautiful ribbons of egg floating throughout the soup. So just pour them in a circular motion and make sure the heat is turned off. After the eggs, add half a block or about 9.5 ounces of sliced tofu right in. It just needs to warm up a little bit, so we don't need to cook it, and make sure it doesn't fall apart or anything. Don't stir too crazy. And then we're just going to fold everything together. So take your spoon and go to one side of the Instant Pot and just kind of pull the eggs towards the center. And do that around the edges a couple times until it's all incorporated. Lastly, add 3 tablespoons of sesame oil right into the pot, and then you are ready to eat. I like serving each individual bowl with a little bit of extra white pepper and sesame oil and some green onion to garnish, and it is the most delicious, hearty, warm, comforting bowl of hot and sour soup you have ever had. Next, we are going to add 1 cup of long grain brown rice to your Instant Pot. And then you can rinse it if you want to, but on the package this says to retain nutrients, to not rinse, so I just do whatever's on the package. To this, we are going to add 1.5 cups of water to the Instant Pot. You can also add some salt for flavor if you like. I prefer not to add oil to my rice when I cook it because it prevents the grains of rice from absorbing the water, so it will have just a little bit of a bite to it. Next, we're going to lock that lid on, turn the knob from venting to sealing. If you don't seal it, it will never come to pressure and it won't cook, it will burn, and you will be very sad. And then we are going to cook this for 15 minutes on high pressure with a 10-minute natural pressure release. To do that, you're going to press the manual button and adjust the time using the plus button to 15, and then after it has counted down from 15, the screen will say L for lapse time, and then wait until it says L10. That means that it's depressurizing on its own for 10 minutes. This time is actually really important for the rice because it's that time that it steams, it absorbs all the water, and so really make sure that you do that 10-minute natural pressure release. After the time is up, just open up that lid, fluff your rice, and you're ready to eat. This is a perfect recipe for the new year, as I know many of you, like me, are having resolutions to eat healthier, to eat quick, fast, healthy meals. So this is the perfect way to use your Instant Pot to make long grain brown rice. So first you have your whole full artichoke, and this is about 1 pound. If your artichoke is over 1 pound, then you can find those directions on my website, but this artichoke that we have here today is about exactly 1 pound. After you wash your artichoke, we want to cut it down a little bit before we get to pressure cooking. If the stem on your artichoke is really long, you'll want to cut it down till it's about 1/2 inch long on the base. And then we're going to cut about the top quarter off of the artichoke. Cutting the top quarter off of the artichoke helps to just let you open it up a little bit easier, and it's a little bit easier to get cooked inside when it doesn't have that top kind of closing it off. So we're going to cut off the top quarter, and then I like to kind of open it up with my fingers and just spread it apart just a tiny bit. And then we are going to cut off some of those outer leaves. Very carefully take your whole artichoke, and I like to just take some kitchen shears and just snip off the very tops of those outer leaves. That just helps it to be easier to handle, and it's just not quite so violent. Next, add 1 cup of water to your Instant Pot, and then we're going to place our artichoke in the Instant Pot. You can do it either on top of the metal trivet that the Instant Pot comes with, or I like to just put mine in a steamer basket so then I can just set it in and pull it out really quickly. I've experimented with Instant Pot artichokes several times, and it doesn't really matter if you cook them cut side down or cut side up, so I'm just going to do them cut side up today. After you place your artichoke in the Instant Pot, just put on that lid, lock it closed, and turn the sealing knob from venting to sealing. For this 1 pound artichoke, I am going to do 25 minutes on high pressure, But I cannot stress this enough, if your artichoke is even a tiny bit larger than this, I would add 3 to 6 minutes from this time. If your artichoke is like 1.5 pounds, I would go for 40 to 45 minutes. I'm telling you this because I've waited 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 35 minutes only to open up my Instant Pot, and then the artichoke is still raw. And it is disgusting when it's raw. You can't eat it like that. So in my personal opinion, I would prefer to overcook the artichoke just a little bit rather than undercooking it, because when you undercook it, there's not anything to eat on the leaves of the artichoke. So you want to make sure that you cook it enough so you get something when you scrape those leaves with your teeth. After the artichoke is done pressure cooking, let's just take it out of the Instant Pot with a quick release after the 25 minutes has lapsed, and then you are ready to eat. After pressure cooking, now it's really simple. Just go ahead and eat it. So if you've never eaten an artichoke before, I actually had to Google it the first time. You want to just take off some of those leaves. You can start all the way from the outside, but it does get meatier the closer you get to that yummy artichoke heart. You just take one of those leaves, and then we like to dip it in butter, but I know a lot of people like to dip in mayonnaise or an aioli or some other kind of sauce. But I like just a little bit of butter and some fresh lemon juice, and then you just dunk those leaves in there, and then you scrape it with your teeth. So you just put the leaf in your mouth and then just pull it and pull that flesh off of the leaf with your teeth, and they're so good, you guys. So fun, and a really fun thing to do for like a special occasion, maybe Valentine's Day or game day, but also it is a really healthy food as well. So that is how you can make artichokes in your Instant Pot. First, we're going to add our water to the Instant Pot, followed by just regular white rice. I don't rinse this, but I just use regular long grain and rich, just like the cheapest rice they have at the grocery store. Next, add a little bit of salt, and we'll close that lid and turn the knob to sealing. We'll cook the rice for 3 minutes on high pressure with a 10-minute natural pressure release. Also, if you love it so much that you want to double the recipe, just double everything except the time. So double the rice, the water, and then just keep the time the same, 3 minutes on high pressure with a 10-minute natural pressure release. After the rice is done, just open up that lid and fluff up that rice to make sure there aren't any clumps, and then we're going to add the sugar. We want to add the sugar when the rice is nice and hot before any of our liquid ingredients, because we want the sugar to melt down and to dissolve completely before we add any liquid. Once you put the sugar in and mix it all up, it will look super like glistening and shiny. It's actually really pretty. So make sure all the sugar is dissolved, and then we'll add our milk. Add in about half of the milk first, stir it up, and then use the remaining milk, and then we're going to crack 2 eggs into the milk and whisk it up. After you put the milk into the rice pudding, press the saute button and put it on low, so then you can start getting a little bit more heat on there, so then we can cook and thicken the eggs. Crack the 2 eggs into the remaining milk and whisk it up really well. You don't want any huge egg chunks, because once we start pouring it into our rice pudding, we don't want any scrambled eggs in our dessert. A lot of people get concerned about the eggs because they don't think that they're cooked, but believe me, the heat of the rice and the milk, it will all cook as we, whisk it up and stir it, so don't worry about the eggs not being cooked. The eggs are simply there to thicken up the rice pudding so it's nice and creamy and thick and has some substance. So whisk up the eggs really well, and then as you are stirring and whisking the rice pudding and the milk, you need to pour in the eggs slowly. In the video, I know it looks like I just dumped it in and then I started stirring, but I wasn't thinking because I was filming with one hand and pouring with the other, so forgive me with this one. All you have to do is just stir, whisk while you pour. If you like raisins in your rice pudding, then you can also add them at this point and just kind of stir them up until they get nice and plump. Next, we are going to add the secret ingredient to this incredible rice pudding, which is vanilla bean paste. So vanilla bean paste is basically just sugar with actual vanilla beans scraped into there, and it's almost like a really thick syrup when you use it. It is delicious. I'm not kidding. It makes everything taste so much better. If you don't have vanilla bean paste, you can use just regular vanilla. In my video here, I'm showing you I added a little bit of vanilla bean paste and a little bit of regular vanilla because I was running out of my vanilla bean paste. In case you didn't know, there is a vanilla bean shortage out there in the world, and so it's getting awfully expensive, but I'll still link my favorite vanilla bean paste in the description below. You can use vanilla extract, vanilla bean paste, or if you're super fancy and have actual vanilla beans, you can split 1 or 2 vanilla beans and scrape out the caviar and put it in your rice pudding to get those beautiful little flecks. After your rice pudding gets nice and thick, we're going to add in a little bit of cream and a little bit of butter just to round it out, that really nice, creamy, buttery, just rich texture in your mouth. It has a really nice mouthfeel when you add the cream and the butter. So we're going to add those in last and then just mix it up, and we're ready to eat. After you've added all the ingredients to your rice pudding, just cook it on low or medium saute as you whisk to get the texture and consistency that you like. If you like it thicker, you're gonna have to cook it a couple minutes longer, but if you like it a little bit more runny, then you can just take it as is. Okay, now we're finally ready to eat. Our favorite way to eat rice pudding is just to put it in a bowl and add a bunch of cinnamon, and then you get a little bit of cinnamon in each bite. That's our favorite way to do it. If you don't eat everything the first day, that's totally fine. Just store it in the refrigerator, but you will notice it's a lot thicker the next day because the rice just continues to absorb all that liquid. So if you want to eat it the next day, just put some in a bowl and add a little bit of extra milk or cream and then microwave it, and then it will kind of thin out a little bit.
It really does not get easier than this, you guys. Okay, add your boneless country style ribs to the Instant Pot, and then add some of your favorite rib or barbecue seasoning. I picked this one up at Costco and it's totally great, but if you want to use a homemade recipe, I also have one of those on my website. Next, I add a glug of my favorite barbecue sauce to add some smokiness and flavor. The last ingredient is just some full sugar soda. I suggest using root beer, Coke, or Dr. Pepper. Lock the lid, turn the knob to sealing, and cook on the meat or stew setting for 35 minutes. If you don't have this setting, use the manual or pressure cook button. After the 35-minute pressure cook, allow a 15-minute natural pressure release, and then just baste the ribs with some more sauce, and you can even broil them or grill them if you like, but they are so good and ready to go as is. To make instant pot baked potatoes, just add a cup of water to your Instant Pot, and then add your potatoes in a steamer basket. If you don't have a steamer basket, that's okay, just put them on top of the trivet. Make sure that your potatoes are clean and you scrub off as much dirt as possible, and that you pick potatoes that are as uniform in shape and size as possible. Put the lid on the Instant Pot and turn the knob to sealing, and then press the manual or pressure cook button and set the time to 12 to 14 minutes for small potatoes, 15 to 18 minutes for medium potatoes, and 20 to 25 minutes for large potatoes. You can do a quick release after the timer is up, or you can also leave them to naturally release the pressure, but just keep in mind they keep cooking during that time, so they might get a little browned. Now just remove the potatoes, and I like to stick a knife in them just to ensure that they're done cooking. And if they're not, there's a little bit of resistance, then you'll want to just put the lid back on and cook for an additional 3 to 5 minutes. We like serving our Instant Pot baked potatoes with butter and sour cream and pepper. It's so good, but you can use any toppings you love.
Start off by adding the noodles into your Instant Pot. You can use this recipe with 1 box, or you can multiply it. Just double everything but the time. Next, add 1.5 cups of water. Don't try and add more or less. This is the perfect amount of water for a no drain macaroni and cheese. Give the noodles a little stir and then lock the lid, turn the knob to sealing, and then cook on manual high pressure for 3 minutes. After the 3 minutes is up, your display will say L0000. Wait until it says L0003 or 4. So do a 3 to 4 minute natural pressure release. I've tested this like 5 times, and this was the best texture and the best way to make sure that the noodles absorb all of the water. So if you want a little bit more of a bite to your noodles, do 3 minutes. If you want them a little bit softer, do 4 minutes. Then release the rest of the pressure and then open up your Instant Pot lid. Next, stir up your noodles and kind of break them up. They might still be a little bit clumpy, so just mix them up and then give them a chance to absorb the rest of the water. Keep stirring for about a minute or 2 until all of the water is absorbed. Next, add your butter and your cheese sauce and your milk as normal, and then just mix it up and enjoy. Here's one more tip. I really love using heavy cream in place of the milk. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I put heavy cream in just about everything, and in Kraft macaroni and cheese, it is so good. The next vegetable I love to make in my Instant Pot is spaghetti squash. So add your spaghetti squash into the Instant Pot with a cup of water, and then lock the lid, turn the knob to ceiling, and then we are going to cook this whole spaghetti squash for 20 minutes. This spaghetti squash that I have here is about 3 pounds, just for your reference. If yours is larger than that, then you're going to have to cook it a little bit longer. So I'd recommend tacking on maybe 3 to 5 minutes. All right, after it's done cooking, do a quick release and then remove your spaghetti squash from the Instant Pot. This is one reason why I like to just use the basket. I can just pull it out and I don't have to worry about it falling apart in the Instant Pot with like tongs or anything like that. So that's just why I like to use the basket. Also, I forgot to mention, if you want to cut your spaghetti squash in half before you start pressure cooking, that's totally fine, and it will actually save you some cook time. You can reduce the cook time by about 3 minutes. So I like to test my spaghetti squash, make sure that a knife or a fork can pierce all the way into the center, and then I'll know it's probably done. And then I'll put it onto a cutting board. I like to let it cool for just a couple of minutes too, because it's really hot to handle, so that's something to be aware of. After you let your spaghetti squash cool, you can now cut it, and there's 2 options for this. If you cut your spaghetti squash through the stem, so if you cut it long ways, you will get some shorter strands. If you cut your spaghetti squash through the middle, then you will get longer strands. No matter which way you cut your spaghetti squash, now we have to take out the seeds. So cut the spaghetti squash in half, and then we're just going to scrape all those seeds out of the center of your squash, and then you can discard those. Next, all you have to do is just kind of fluff and scrape those strands off of the sides of the shell, and then you're ready to eat. Sometimes they can retain a lot of moisture, so sometimes I will just strain them and kind of push the spaghetti squash through a strainer to remove some of the excess moisture if I'm going to add it into a dish, because I don't want it to be watered down. But this is ready to go. It's a really good meal prep food because you can just make a bunch of it and then toss it into anything that you want. If you're eating low carb or keto, check out my new recipe for Instant Pot spaghetti squash with lemon cream sauce. It is so simple but so delicious. It's low carb, it has heavy cream and lemon. It's just bright and fresh, and you are gonna love it. Okay, let's get started. First, we're going to add the bacon lardons into the Instant Pot. Let them cook for about 5 to 8 minutes until they get nice and crispy. Now here's my trick and a little tip about the bacon. If you put your bacon slab in the freezer for about 20 minutes before you cut them, it will cut so much easier. Usually bacon is a little bit difficult to cut sometimes because it's so chewy and greasy, but if you freeze it, it will cut so nicely. Notice that I'm not stirring the bacon a million times. I'm letting it crisp up, get cooked, and I'm not steaming it, because if I constantly mix it up, it's never going to get that nice sear and a chance to fry. Give it a couple stirs every now and then, but don't be too overzealous with the stirring. You see all those awesome flavors developing on the bottom of the pot? Those browned bits, that is what's going to give a great flavor to your soup. You will not get that if you keep stirring it. Now that our bacon is nice and crispy and perfectly cooked, I am going to take it out. You can use a little slotted spoon or just kind of like this, reserving the fat in the pot. Now you see that there's probably a little bit less than a 1/4 cup of bacon grease reserved in the pot. It's totally okay to leave that. If you have a ton of grease, about 1/2 cup or more, take some of that out, just blot it out with a paper towel or something, or with a spoon, but you can totally leave that grease in because it's going to add the flavor to the soup. Next, we are going to add 5 cups of peeled and diced potatoes into the Instant Pot. Now you can see I just dump them straight in there into the bacon grease. They are going to pick up that awesome bacon flavor for this loaded baked potato soup. Add the minced onion. So I'm just using dried onion flakes, but you can use fresh onion if you like. Next, we are going to add some minced garlic for a little bit of flavor, some salt and pepper, and then the chicken broth. We have 2 cups of chicken broth here, and like I said, I just use the better than bouillon with some hot water. Now here's a tip: if you want your Instant Pot to come to pressure even faster, just pop whatever liquid that you're using in the microwave until it is nice and hot, or use like hot tap water, juice, whatever you're using, and it will come to pressure way quicker. Just give this a little stir and then we're ready to pressure cook. Now put your lid on the Instant Pot, set the knob to sealing, otherwise it will not work, and we are going to cook this on manual high pressure for just 3 minutes. After the 3 minutes is done, give the Instant Pot a quick release by venting the sealing knob from sealing to venting, just like I did there, and letting the steam release from the Instant Pot. This is kind of like when you have a shaken up soda bottle and you're just cracking the lid a little bit to get that pressure off, so then you can get the whole cap off. Now, as you can see, we've taken the lid off and our baked potato soup is looking good. Using a potato masher, go ahead and mash up those potatoes, not too much because you don't want actual mashed potatoes, but just enough to give the soup a little bit of creaminess. So you can kind of stir it up like that, and you still want to leave some potato chunks in there. Next, we're going to add our heavy cream. Oh my gosh, makes everything taste delicious. Then we are going to add some milk. Now, if you don't have heavy cream or you don't have milk, you can use all of one or the other. I think the combination just makes it perfect. Give your soup a quick stir, and as you can see, it's still a little thin, but don't worry because next we are going to be adding sour cream. Add a full cup of sour cream. This is what gives the soup the baked potato flavor. It is essential to this recipe. So add 1 full cup of the good full fat sour cream and add a full cup of shredded cheddar cheese and give it a nice stir. You will be amazed at how quickly this comes together after. It is going to thicken up. The cheese and the sour cream are amazing at pulling it together, making it nice and thick and creamy. And that is it, my friends. You can just ladle this into your favorite bowl and top it with some more cheddar cheese, that bacon that we made at the very beginning, some green onions or some chives, or any other topping that you love on a regular baked potato. It goes amazingly on this loaded baked potato soup recipe made in the Instant Pot in less than 30 minutes. Okay. So I'm just going to assume that you don't have a basket, and we are going to just start stacking them in the Instant Pot on the trivet. Now that we have our eggs in the Instant Pot stacked on the trivet, notice that I didn't put them towards the outside edge of the Instant Pot as much. I kind of tried to stack them up and in the center. Next, we are going to add 1 cup of just regular temperature, cold, whatever water in our Instant Pot. This is one time where I do not recommend you add more than 1 cup of water. The reason is because if you have like 2, 3, 4 cups of water in there, it is going to have way more pressure, way more heat, and it will overcook your eggs. Put the lid on, turn your knob from venting to sealing, and my preferred time is 2 minutes on high pressure with a 15-minute natural pressure release. Okay, so we've got our eggs in here. If I had my basket full of eggs, I would just take this out and take it straight to the sink and cool it down as soon as possible. Quickly run it under some cold water and then add some ice to it. Now our eggs have been sitting in this ice cold water for about 10-15 minutes, and I'm just going to drain the water. This is how I like to peel my hard-boiled eggs. I just take the bottom and the top, give them a little tap like this, and then I roll them. Just a little bit. If you do it too much, it will just squash it, and you do not want that. So once I do that, the shell just comes right off. Oh, see, like that. Great! Isn't that amazing? These, I just like to cut in half and They are They are perfectly done. I like keeping these in the fridge as a healthy snack. You can peel them or keep them whole in the fridge and they'll last for like a week or so. You can chop them up into salads. They're just a really nice healthy snack.
We're going to start off by making just basic instant pot oatmeal. So add 4 cups of water to your instant pot, and if you want it softer, you can do 5 cups. Add 2 cups of regular rolled oats. We're not going to use steel cut oatmeal or the instant kind, just regular rolled oats. Then add some salt and do not stir. Lock the lid and cook on manual high pressure for 1 to 2 minutes, followed by a quick pressure release. Now, this is what the texture looks like after we open up our instant pot, and I like to make it a little bit thicker in the instant pot because I add the milk and the sugar and the cream all after because we don't ever want to pressure cook with dairy. And you can just add butter, cream, sugar, whatever you want to this oatmeal.
So now that we have our Instant Pot oatmeal, that is our base. That is going to be the base of every single recipe that we have, and feel free to make any sort of variation on these different recipes that I'm going to show you.
To a hot bowl of Instant Pot oatmeal, add some butter. Guys, if you have never added butter to your oatmeal, you are totally missing out. It makes it super rich, creamy. Oh, it's so good. Just trust me on this one. First, we add our butter, and then we're going to add however much milk or cream that you like. I like my oatmeal a little bit thicker than I like it thin, so I'm just going to add some cream, and then I'm going to add cream of coconut as the flavoring. Oh, this stuff is so good. It's usually used for pina coladas, but I also use it in my pineapple curry recipe, and it's perfect for sweetening up this oatmeal and giving it a yummy coconut flavor. So mix that all up and then top it with some toasted sweetened coconut. And I like to add some raspberries or strawberries. It just gives it kind of a pop of fresh flavor. And this one is so good. It's definitely one of my favorites.
Next up is a classic that everyone loves, berries and cream.
One of my favorite hacks to cool down really piping hot Instant Pot oatmeal is to scoop it up into a bowl and then add some frozen berries to it. I just give it a quick mix and then let it sit for about 2 minutes, and the hot oatmeal thaws the berries and the berries cool down the oatmeal. It is the perfect temperature for kids. I like topping our blueberries and cream oatmeal with some more berries and some granola for some crunch. It is so good to have that crunchy texture on top of the berries. It's perfect. And at the very end, we'll just drizzle a little bit of honey on top just as a pretty sweetener. First, take half a banana and put it into your bowl, and then add about 1 to 2 tablespoons of creamy peanut butter on top of the banana. Next, we're going to mash this all up into kind of a paste. It's good to do this before we add the oatmeal, and it's a little bit less messy. If you want, you can also sub out the peanut butter with Nutella. That would be so good. Or you can just top the oatmeal at the end with some chocolate chips for some texture and chocolatiness. My kids really like this one. It's naturally sweetened because I don't like adding extra sweetener to my kids' oatmeal, but they love this one. It's so it's so good. Just keep mashing until it gets to a nice kind of mixed together consistency, and then we're going to add a big scoop of the Instant Pot oatmeal. The oatmeal will melt the peanut butter a little bit and it will get nice and creamy throughout. At this point, you can add milk or cream, whatever you like to get the consistency that you want. We like ours a little bit thicker. At the very end, just take the rest of the banana that we had from earlier and slice it up for the top, and then add some granola and some honey if you like. First, start out with a big scoop of Instant Pot oatmeal and then add your cream or milk. Then we're just going to add everything else in. A couple tablespoons of the pumpkin puree, a little sprinkle of nutmeg, some cinnamon, a splash of vanilla, and then just stir that up to get a beautiful pumpkin oatmeal. At the very end, I just sprinkle it with a couple chocolate chips and then they melt. Like I said with the others, you can add whatever sweetener you like, but I personally like just adding the chocolate chips as my sweetener so there's not too much sugar in my breakfast. Just mix up your Instant Pot oatmeal with as much butter and cream as you like to make it a nice smooth consistency, whatever you like. Sprinkle on a couple tablespoons of brown sugar, and you want it thick enough where it's going to brulee. You don't want it super thin where there's not enough sugar to torch, but you don't want to pack it on too much, otherwise it will get really hard. I don't put the brown sugar in the oatmeal. I just like it on top because then I can get kind of this creamy texture on the bottom with the sugary shell. It's to die for, you guys. Okay, before the sugar melts onto the oatmeal completely, take your brulee torch and just torch the top of that oatmeal until it gets nice and smoky, and you can see that it gets nice and caramelized. Don't let it burn. You don't want it to burn, but oh, let's just enjoy this. Gorgeous.
We'll just add a cup or two of cauliflower florets. You can add however much you are going to eat into a steamer basket, and then we are going to add 1 cup of water. Lock the lid and turn the knob to sealing, and then we will cook this cauliflower for 1 minute on high pressure with a quick release. This does not have to cook long, and we don't want mushy cauliflower, so that is why we're going to do 1 minute with a quick release. After you have removed the lid, check your cauliflower with a knife or a fork to make sure it's the tenderness that you want. If it's not quite all the way cooked, all you have to do is just put the lid back on the Instant Pot and just wait about 2 to 3 minutes, and that will just have the residual heat cook the cauliflower all the way through. Don't pressure cook the cauliflower again because we don't want to overcook it, but just let the residual heat from the Instant Pot steam, and then it will be cooked just fine. Now you can take this cauliflower out and use it for, I don't know, however you eat steamed cauliflower. I like to smother mine with butter and cheese, but you know, that's just me. Obviously, it's healthier if you just eat it plain. The first thing we're going to do is incorporate the starter into the milk. I like doing this by just adding a little bit of the milk. Let's say like half a cup. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of the yogurt starter. I am using the Fage 2% plain yogurt. You can use any yogurt that has probiotics, but I like using just the plain ones, the plain flavored ones, because I think it's the safest way to go. After you put in 2 tablespoons of starter, you can put the rest of this in those little cups and freeze them for the next batch you make. So I have 2 tablespoons of the yogurt starter. We're gonna stick it in the Instant Pot like this. And here's the key. The starter has to be mixed into the milk completely. If it's chunky or if it has little tiny grains in it, your yogurt might turn out grainy or gritty, and we don't want that. So I'm just going to start whisking it in. A lot of people ask me why they would make their own yogurt versus just buying it at the store because it's so easy. But my kids devour this yogurt. It is their favorite thing in the whole world. And when they eat so much of it, it's nice to know exactly what goes into your food, and it's so much cheaper to make homemade. And it should be really foamy, like there should be lots of bubbles. After you have the starter mixed in with the milk, about like half a cup or so, that's when we're gonna add our sweetened condensed milk. We like the whole thing, so I'm just going to add the whole thing in, and then we're gonna whisk this in completely. Once the sweetened condensed milk and the starter is mixed in with that little bit of milk, we're gonna add in the rest of the milk. And now it's time to incubate. Next, we're just going to put the lid on top of the yogurt, press the yogurt button, make sure that it is on the normal setting. You can see the normal setting right here in the middle. You can adjust that setting by pressing the yogurt button a couple times. It'll go from less to more, but make sure it is on normal. After we press the yogurt button and it is on the normal setting, that's when we're gonna set our time. So set the time anywhere from 7 to 10 hours. If you want it more tart, you can do it even longer, but my favorite is just around 8 or 8.5 hours. Once it registers the time, the display will say 0000 because it is going to start counting up not counting down like when you're pressure cooking. So this is going to count up to 8.5 hours, and you just let it sit and you're ready to go. Once it's done incubating, it's firm, it smells so good. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So this is it. From here, we are going to refrigerate it. Typically, I do mine overnight, but it just has to be cool because no one wants to eat warm yogurt. So we're gonna stick this in the fridge, and then after, we'll come back and we'll do the spoon test. So you can see our yogurt is nice, thick, like that. And the next best vegetable to make in your Instant Pot is Instant Pot broccoli.
First, take your broccoli, and I like to just use the pre-cut and washed kind, and then I like to put it in a steamer basket. But if you don't have a steamer basket, feel free to use a steamer net. If you don't have one of those, you can use the trivet. Just make sure your broccoli is not cut too small so it doesn't fall through. You just don't want it sitting in the water. So next, add a cup of water and then your broccoli. Put the lid on the Instant Pot and turn the knob from venting to sealing. And then we're going to cook for 0 minutes. That's right. Wait until the pin pops up, and then you will see an L on the screen saying that it's done pressure cooking. And then you want to do a quick release right away. You don't want to overcook your broccoli. So do a quick release. And then we're going to check for doneness. Use a fork or a knife and just poke it into one of the thickest pieces of broccoli. And if it's still not fork tender, just replace the lid right back onto your Instant Pot. You do not want to pressure cook again. Just let the residual heat cook through the broccoli. After that, just remove it as quickly as possible from the Instant Pot, and then you're ready to eat your perfectly cooked Instant Pot broccoli.
Next, I'm going to teach you how to make baby carrots in your Instant Pot. Add 1 to 2 cups of baby carrots to a steamer basket, and then place it in your Instant Pot with 1 cup of water. Put the lid on your Instant Pot and then turn the knob from venting to sealing. I've tested this many times, and my favorite time, I guess, for a tender but not mushy baby carrot is 3 minutes on high pressure with a quick release. And like I mentioned before, if after 3 minutes your baby carrots are not quite done, then you can just replace the lid and just wait 1 to 2 minutes and wait for that residual heat and steam to cook your carrots all the way through. I always think it's better to undercook these types of vegetables rather than overcook, because it doesn't take very long to heat them through if they're undercooked, but if they're overcooked, most of the time they're gross.
These bacon green beans are so good. They're dairy-free, really quick to make, and they are some of the best green beans you will ever have, I promise. So let's start out by pressing the saute button on the Instant Pot and adjust to high. Add 3 slices of thick cut bacon lardons that have been cut up and saute them until they are crispy. Next, add 2 tablespoons of dried onion flakes or half of a fresh minced onion, 1.5 tablespoons of minced garlic, and a couple cracks of black pepper. Add half a cup of water or vegetable or chicken broth and 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Scrape the brown bits off the bottom of the pot and then turn off the Instant Pot. Add 2 pounds of washed fresh green beans over the bacon mixture, and then you can mix it up a little bit. Lock the lid, turn the knob to sealing, and cook on manual high pressure for 2 minutes. Then I allow a 5-minute natural pressure release, and if you like your green beans a little bit crispier, then do a quick release and check the green beans. And if they're not cooked as much as you'd like, replace the lid and let the residual heat cook the green beans for an additional 2 to 5 minutes. Open the lid and transfer the green beans to a bowl or serving platter. Make sure that you pour all of that sauce and the bacon.
And last, one of the most common things thanks for watching this video on the best vegetables to make in your Instant Pot. Make sure you check out my 7 essential recipes every Instant Pot owner needs to know next. See ya! Thanks for watching these 25 amazing recipes made in the Instant Pot that I love to make over and over again. If you're new, make sure you check out my Instant Pot 101 playlist where you will learn everything you need to know about your Instant Pot. Okay, we'll see you next time. Bye!